Before we open up for questions, Pamela and Brock, you got to tell about the ambulance.
Well, as most business deals are done in our family, they all originated at bars. And Brock and Hal Needham, Brock had worked with Hal on the Salt Flats. They were doing a show for CBS, and they got to be buddies. And Needham came up to Watkins Glen, and they were sitting around the bar and talking about old stories and telling lies. And Brock was telling Hal about this Cannonball, and Hal really, typical linear show business guy, knew nothing about it. And he said, "Shit, Yates, we gotta do a movie about that." And Brock said, "Oh, come on, I've been ripped off by the best, the Gumball Rally, the Death Race, and whatever." Needham said, No, we'll do the best, we'll do the better one. So that's how it started again. And really, in defense of Brock, the screenplay that he wrote was for Steve McQueen. And it was, it was the kind of movie that you all would have left, an audience would have left, and there would have been, qualifications on the end of the screen saying, "This is the stupidest thing you've ever seen," but it really did happen. There was a cannonball. And McQueen had a very serious, more racer mind to it, so it was much more realistic and much more based on what really happened. And then McQueen got cancer and had to back out. And Burt was having a snit about his talent. And he said, "Okay, I'll do another stupid car movie, but I don't care what it's about, and I just want all the money, the most money ever made up front by an actor." And that's exactly how the genesis was. He got his $5 million up front, which was the first big deal. And every day, Brock, because once you sell the screenplay, you don't own it anymore. It has a life of its own, you know that, Tim. And so every day, Brock would go in, and Reynolds would have some sort of nightmare, and Brock would have to rewrite it every day. And he'd come home like at night saying, "I can't believe this guy." And every day it was, "Well, gee, I think he had Dom in it. Well, I wonder if Roger's on break." And my mother was in it. I mean, everybody was in it. And it got a life of its own. So it was certainly not the screenplay Brock sold and would have been really proud of.
Every day
it was different and more bizarre. But anyway, so that's how the Cannonball started with the movie. And then Hal came up with this great idea of an ambulance. And Bill Mitchell, by the way, in Connecticut, he took the stock ambulance that Chrysler gave to us, and he converted it into this ambulance. And Brock and Hal, it was not finished in a typical Hollywood, stunt guy, Hollywood mindset. Sure, we don't need to test it. I'll pay a lot of money, we'll get it done, and we'll. So the night of the Cannonball, which was supposed to be an underground secret event,
50,000 people.
At the start, yeah. But what happened was, there were mud wrestlers, jealous wrestlers. Diana Ross showed up. It was weird. But we get a call 2 days before the Cannonball runs, this time from Connecticut, the Good Wife Shopping Center, from the New York Times News Bureau. And they had gotten wind that another Cannonball was going to be run. And we freaked. We said, this is supposed to be illegal, quiet, no underground, nobody knows. But the newsroom knew about it. And Brock said, "Oh, geez, I'm going to have to, I don't know, we have to postpone it." And the momentum had gone, so far ahead of us, we couldn't. And God is up there, and 3 Mile Island blew. And so the entire New York Times news department was sent to 3 Mile Island, and we got to the Good Wife Shopping Center, and there were still 2,000 people there, literally, waiting for this thing to take off. But we picked up Needham that night, and he's dragging with him this 6'5", red-haired, freckled, looked like the old Colby Palmolive kid, in the commercials. And he was a radiologist from California. Where did Hal meet him? in a bar on Sunset Strip, and he convinced, as only he can, this kid who wanted to be in the movies to come along and be the doctor. So this poor schnook gets off the plane, he's taken right to Bill Mitchell's, the ambulance, bogus ambulance is there, it's all fitted out, he's got white surgical smocks, clippers, he's got IV bottles for me, and masks, and whatever, and the ambulance is just rolling. Ooh.
And you're the patient.
And I was the patient, yeah. And I had my daughter Stacy and my son Sean were little, and we were so busy getting the deal together and getting it all taken care of that it wasn't until we got across the George Washington Bridge and Needham and Yates are screaming at each other, "Oh, Jesus Christ, I don't know what that button is, and I don't know how you make the sirens go, and it's being used in the left lane." And the doctor, you know, the kid is sitting there like this because he hasn't got a clue what he's in for. I'm on the gurney with my pajamas, and all of a sudden I hear Yates say, "Oh shit," and all of a sudden it got really quiet for the first time. And Hal said, "Well, what do you mean shit?" And he said, we're nailed. There are cops behind us. We're being pulled over." So I jump in the gurney. The doctor shoves the IV down my sleeve, sticks an oxygen mask over my head, and I'm on the gurney under there. And Hal and Brock were the quietest I've ever heard. They were scared out of their minds. And the doctor is frozen in place. And the doctor is now sitting in a Recaro seat. So we glide over, and now I'm literally stone white because now I'm starting to think of the headlines. Mother of two, arrested and jailed in Jersey for impersonating a sick patient. And so I'm lying there. They jump out of the ambulance. The scene in the movie is farcical, but it is absolutely what happened to us in Jersey with the troopers. So the door slides open. I'm white as a ghost, looking like I'm dead. And the water from the IV is trickling down my arm. And all I can think of is, oh my God, I gotta go to the potty. Let me just hold it, please, I'm gonna kill him. So they're outside and the troopers are saying, "Where the hell do you guys think you're going? Where's your lane discipline? What about your sirens and your lights?" And the doctor kid is just stoic. And Hal and Brock are mumbling and dancing around. Usually they're so glib. And so Hal said, well, I don't know. We're taking the patient to California. They're just by the GW Bridge in Jersey. And so the troopers said, and of course I'm still eyes closed and processing, and the troopers say, "Well, what the hell, California? Why can't you fly her?" And the doctor, Oscar winning, he pivots in the chair and all of a sudden he comes alive and he says, "Well, the senator's wife has fibrocystic disease of the lungs. She can't be flown in a pressurized cabin." I mean, it was brilliant. If I could have spoken, I would have said, "Whoa." And Hal and Brock were still mute and scared to death, convinced we were going to the slam. But this kid, and he's got his clipboard, and so they basically, you could hear the troopers, they conferred, but then they got very confused, and then they said, "Well, okay, all right, you guys, but you just learn your lane discipline," and boom, and close the door. And in the meantime, while they're talking to everybody, the ambulance is going, it was Bill Mitchell's high-powered engine, and it was nothing like an ambulance they did. So anyway, the door slams, and we take off, and Hal and Brock natter at each other for miles about this thing, and we're free, and no one can believe that they let us go, because there was also a forged tag When Brock dreamed up Trans-Con MediVac, it sounded really good to him. So before we left the Goodwife Shopping Center, did a check and found out the tag was out of date. So Brock said, well, shit, we can figure that. Finish that. So he had one of the artists that was there touching up the logo on the van, and he forged a plate. So these guys didn't even check the forged tag, and we're off. We're gone. And so that's how the movie began. And that scene in the movie is exactly what happened. And I don't know if Barry McGuire is here, but it was one of the neatest moments of our whole experience. Brock, they came up to do a show of Car Crazy. Barry came in and was in our garage and did a great segment. And he asked Brock at Cannonball about the troopers. Did you ever meet them? Did you know? And we wondered for all those years, did they know they'd been taken? Because it was in People magazine. I mean, there was no way they. So at the end of the show, Barry McGuire tags and looks on the camera and says, if you troopers, you cops are out there and are listening, or anyone knows them, have them call Barry McGuire's, gave him the number, and let us know. And a couple of weeks go by, phone rings, it's Barry. One of the cops called, had seen the show, he's a car nut, called McGuire's. They patched us in, we had a conference call after, 30 years. And they've been telling their version of the story. 30 years on a parallel track with us telling our version of the story. And Brock had the sign to the Cannonball book that's going to be out there available. And I'd like everybody on the panel here who did the Cannonball, who were involved with the event, to sign that book, and it'll be for sale, so that it'll be the best commemorative you could ever have. It'll be great fun. But anyway, at Sardi's, as a chowder society, they had the book launch. They, unbeknownst to us, they invited the 2 patrolmen. They came. They were the coolest guys. And one of them, the car guy, the younger guy, was very funny. I mean, he could have been a master of ceremonies. The other trooper that was with him is now the chief of police for Bergen County in New Jersey. And they presented us a ticket for $47,700.